As the day grew darker and darker outside, I made preparations to get through the night in the mansion. There were logs by the fireplace. I stacked them in the grate with some old magazines for kindling. But there were no matches, and night was falling fast. I started rattling around through any drawer I could find. Luckily, just as the last light was dying, I opened a hall closet and found a flashlight on the top shelf. Using the beam, I made my way to the kitchen, but I stopped on the threshold. I could see by my flashlight that the door leading from the kitchen down into the basement stood open, the stairway disappearing into blackness. The open door unnerved me. Alone like that in the dark house, I flashed back to that moment 7 years ago when I saw Amanda's corpse dangling above me. I stepped quickly to the basement door and swung it shut. Then I searched the kitchen. I looked in the small pantry, went through some drawers. Finally, the flashlight beam picked out a box of wooden matches on a small shelf over the stove. I was reaching up to take it down when my hand froze. I heard something very soft. A guitar was playing. Slowly, I turned around, brought the flashlight around. The basement door was standing open again. A voice trailed up to me from below, singing softly, almost tunelessly. I wait for you. I wait for you. I moved to the basement door. Just as I reached the top of the stairs, the singing stopped. I reached up to shut the door again, but I couldn't. I couldn't just shut the door and walk away and spend the whole night in that dark house not knowing what was down there. I had to look. I started down the stairs, holding tight to the flashlight. With every step, the basement blackness seemed to close around me more tightly. I reached the bottom. Immediately, I pointed the beam to the place where I'd seen Amanda hanging. There was nothing there. No, wait, there was. The flashlight picked out a rope, a noose, hanging there, empty. Then I lowered the flashlight and saw her come walking toward me out of the darkness. She was just as I'd seen her last, her body horribly bloated, her skin bluish green, her eyes bulging. For a moment, I just gaped at her in terror, and then in terror, I stumbled back and the flashlight slipped out of my hands. It fell to the floor and went out, and the blackness was complete. I made a noise I never heard myself make before, a strangled cry. I knew she was still coming toward me, but I couldn't see her. I couldn't see anything. With my hands out in front of me, I stumbled in the direction of the stairs, found them, grabbed the banister, started up. In the darkness, I tripped, went down on my knees, and as I did, I felt cold fingers wrap themselves around my ankle. Crying out, I yanked myself free. I went upward blindly, tripping, stumbling, but finally plunging through the doorway into the kitchen. I slammed the basement door behind me, but I was still lost in the darkness. And as I tried to move toward the stove, toward the matches, I heard her through the door singing softly, "I wait for you. I wait for you." Her voice getting louder as she slowly climbed the stairs. I staggered across the kitchen, bumped into the stove, reached up, feeling for the box of matches. There it was. I grabbed it. The singing had stopped now. The darkness was silent. I fumbled for a match, found one, struck it against the side of the box. The flame flared, and she was standing right in front of me, grinning, reaching for me with those dead hands. I screamed and dropped the matches, hurled myself headlong away from her. By sheer luck, I bumped into the edge of the pantry doorway. I rolled off into the pantry itself and shut the door fast. My hand still clutching the knob, I braced my shoulder against the door, and as I did, the knob began turning in my hand. I could feel her out there trying to push the door inward. I held it shut.